with the year. So if you are born in December and then there's a new year, you are one. Even though your birthday isn't until the following December, you are already one.
Okay.
So from December, so once January hits, I'm 1 year old.
Yes, you're one.
So the new calendar year, it just uses automatically.
Everybody turns everybody turns one on the same day.
Exactly.
Okay.
Everyone ages up. So you might not actually be 1 year old yet, but you're one now.
You just say you're one.
And then even though you're finally turning one in December, 1 month later, you're two.
I wonder how much like BTS stuff like that and Blackpink and all those K-pops like these they have a lot of fans, and I'm kind of curious like how much these fans kind of get turned on to like Korean culture because of that.
I say I definitely have been more turned on to Korean culture.
Like I know your dad likes Korean culture. He likes those shows on Netflix.
Yeah, my dad, they binge it.
So I got into Korean dramas even before I was into BTS because I was going to Thailand and I was like, let me watch some Thai dramas so I can like become familiarized with the language. And once I got into the Thai dramas, somebody put me onto K-dramas and then
it was over.
The Korean ones are supposed to be the best ones. So my parents watch them all. They watch Chinese ones, and they watch Thai ones, and they watch Korean ones. And I think those are the big three. And I think there's some Japanese too.
There are.
Yeah, but the Korean ones supposedly have like the best acting, the best production value, and stuff like this.
And they're churning out new ones constantly. Like the shows run for like 3 months, and then that's it. And then these good quality actors go on to another drama.
But so I guess they kind of have like formulas for these actors. So they're trained all in the same schools. So if like an actor is told to act sad, you will see multiple actors like doing the exact same thing. Like they'll put their hand on the table the same way and like sulk the same way. And then that transfers onto every show. Like, oh, this person knows act sad or whatever. And it was something my dad noticed because he would watch like 2,000 hours of it in a row and then be like, wait a minute, this, and then he did some research on it, and that's the actual
interesting. Like a
standardized acting, rather than like being individual. It's like this is sadness, this is happy, these are these emotions. You all do it the same, and I bet they line them up, and they have to kind of do it the same.
Yeah, in order like you pass a test or something.
Yep. Whereas we're encouraged to be very like ourselves, you know,
to bring your own self into the performance,
right? You know, and then make us believe that way. This is like, no, this is what it is, and you are like molding yourself to define it.
I have to look out for that, but I do still say that they do bring themselves into the performance. Because
they are good actors. I mean, I've watched it too, and of course, you know, there's different things, but I think if you do watch it enough, you'll see sort of some of these patterns.
I'll look out for the patterns now, because I do watch enough. I should be picking up on.
What's a show that you really like?
Oh, I recently watched this one. It's called It's Okay to Not Be Okay. And it's on Netflix. It's really good. It's about this boy, and he is taking care of his special needs brother. His brother is autistic, and his mother was killed when he was like 12 years old. So ever since then, he's been taking care of his brother. And it's not okay for him to like show his feelings, that he's not happy and that he's not okay and that he's angry, because that sets his brother off. And he has to always be like, it's okay. Like he's always trying to calm down his brother so he can't take care of himself. And in walks this girl into his life where she's kind of chaotic and she's got a lot going on, and she starts taking care of him and telling him, aren't you tired of not living your life? Like, let's live life together. And it's a beautiful story. You guys should check it out.
All right.
Sounds kind of like a downer.
No. It's all about finding yourself and realizing that it's okay to not be okay, and discovering who you really are.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just give yourself to everyone else. You have to take time to really find out who you are and what makes you happy.
So another movie we all watched this week that talked about all those same themes, or not, is The Social Dilemma, right? I mean, we have a little bit more time, so how did you guys feel about it?
Okay, it made me be like, I definitely need to be more conscious about the time I spend on my phone, because I do know I'll wake up in the morning and I'll take like an hour, and like I won't even realize that it's an hour, and I'll just be like looking through all the news feeds, checking up on my social media, and before I know it, oh shoot, an hour has gone by. but I'm going to start being more conscious about that and trying to go away from my algorithm.
Yeah, well, for anyone that's listening that doesn't know, The Social Dilemma is essentially a documentary that kind of tells, these are inside people, these are people from the tech industry, and essentially kind of tells about how like all these big companies, Google, Facebook, all of that, they're set up in a way that they reprogram us to want to give them their information and like they kind of control like what we're doing,
right?
Yeah,
like our actions.
Yeah, the commodity is not our data; it's really our time and how long we spend on the apps.
Yes,
is what they're like trying to accomplish the best way possible. I found an interesting argument in there because we're always talking about like when is AI going to run the world, when is robots going to run the world. But when they're talking about these algorithms that are predicting what you're going to click on, in my mind, I kind of thought about it like in a boardroom, like people are actually analyzing and kind of like grouping us, maybe into genres of people, and then that's how it was based on. But to think that the robot is so strong that it's like individually coming for me in a certain way, that it's literally just one algorithm per person.
Essentially,
more or less.
yeah.
That is so crazy.
Did you remember that part too when the guy was saying, somebody on the show talked about like there's only like a handful of like engineers that kind of even have an understanding of what the algorithms are doing, but even then it's still kind of like a lot of the times they're still not too sure how the algorithm is like deciding what they're deciding, which is fucking trippy.
Totally. So the algorithms are sitting here, or the AIs are watching like every single one of our behaviors. So how to make like a better judgment on a whole population of living species than by being able to watch and track their literal every move. And it's not other people and governments that are doing that, it's actually just these robots at this point.
The robots from Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest and Reddit, and and we're giving them all this information. We're telling them when they're like, we suggest you watch cat video when the cat eats a butterfly, and you're like, oh, awesome. And now they're going to be like, oh, good, we know she likes cat videos, she likes butterflies, okay, give her this ad about gardening. It's like,
well, the thing that's been bugging me is like, so it is like your phone does listen. If you have the YouTube app open and you're just having a conversation about something, you will see an ad about that thing. It's not a coincidence. Like I was randomly talking about Dramamine, like the thing that you take for boat sickness. How often you talk about that or see ads about that? And we had like a pretty decent talk about it for like 10 minutes for random reasons. And then that night or the next day, there's a straight up Dramamine commercial. I'm like, what?
See, we talked about this before, and I told you because I feel like there's been times where I think of something in my head.
You didn't even say it.
I didn't even say it. And I'll see like an advertisement for it on my laptop or something like that. And it's kind of, now that I saw that, it kind of makes a little bit more sense because like, again, it's an algorithm and like it's predicting things. So based on my past choices and decisions, it just kind of, I'm thinking that there's times where it kind of guesses, oh, well, there may be a whole like this. And it turns out, yeah, that is what I wanted.
It predicted it. It knows.
Like it knew before I knew.
It knows how often maybe I'm buying like cell phone chargers. Let's say that's something that you have to buy like for your iPhone every couple years, every year you run out, so it's like timing, like when to show me ads because it just knows in the past like when I've made that purchase, and it's like, oh, how did you know that right now is when I would normally need to re-up my whatever it is?
It's like every 9 months we know Jacob needs a new phone charger, so let's go ahead and put that in. And this algorithm is just constantly working. There's no one that's like, oh, let's go check in on you, but no, this algorithm is just doing it and it's fine-tuning, and you're just giving it more information with all your clicks, and it knows when you're staring at your phone, what you're looking at, and for how long, and it's programmed to make you look at your phone for even longer, to make it more and more addictive.
I was really happy. One guy at the end, the guy with the dreads.
Oh, I like him.
Jaron or something.
Something like that. And he was giving like recommendation. He just says never click on the, like never watch the recommended videos. Don't give them more. Just ignore the recommended videos. And I kind of already did that. Like I tend to not watch the recommended videos. Like I know what I want to watch for the most part. Now I think it's to the point where, like on YouTube, for example, I have set up like what I subscribe to, like the videos I watch, and I pretty much that's kind of what I stick to. You know what I mean? I kind of don't like veer off too far from that unless it's like I'm looking for something specific.
See, I watch the recommended stuff because I will have like YouTube playing on my TV while I'm doing stuff, and it'll just automatically go to all these recommended videos after like 3 seconds.
Right. So you're QAnon.
I'm a part of it. I mean, like, it's mostly like music video stuff and pop culture news, but it goes deeper and deeper into the wormhole.
Well, another weird thing that they talk about is how it like radicalizes people, everything from like ISIS to these right-wing militia groups, to even like Antifa, which is not a group, but left-wing violence or whatever, which does exist, is like people get this, they're not getting information because they want correct information. It's getting fed by an algorithm that wants you to click on something. It doesn't care. Like, the algorithm isn't caring if it's true or not. It's just being highlighted.
It knows that you're likely to push that button.
Yes.
And it doesn't know what's true or not.
Exactly.
It doesn't even know. So like the one guy was saying, how can we program it to fact check when it doesn't know what a fact check is? And 6 out of 1 in 6 or 6 out of 10, what was the number? Well, basically 6. Most of the news that they're putting out that people are looking at.
Oh yeah, the fake news
news.
Yeah, and
it's way more popular.
It travels a lot faster than real news.
That was it. It was like people are 6 times more likely to see fake news than they are.
Or to click on. I remember that one stat or whatever.
And it was like,
faster.
wow. But you can see that, because imagine if you're a conspiracy theory person, they know. I spent all night last night looking into Ancient Aliens, for example, and they're like, this girl is conspiracy theorist nut. So what are they going to give me now? A story about how we never landed on the moon. Okay, It ties in. And I'm watching that, and now I'm watching something about how the whole election was fake. Hillary was never supposed to run. It's just all these crazy conspiracies. And I'm just like clicking and clicking and clicking because my mind has been open to conspiracies.
And
that's all.
That part too, remember, Jacob, where that I was surprised. I had no idea that Google, when you search, and how it does like the autofill?
Yes.
That shocked the hell out of me. I thought everyone got the same autofill. I didn't realize it was based by location.
Based by your location.
Because that guy made a great point when he's talking about like, when you see somebody that are believing in these things, you're kind of like, how do they not see the same things that I do? I thought but we don't get the same information.
I knew we were doing the same thing. I didn't realize it was based on location. I think it's based on location plus based on what you've typed in before. It's like a combination,
your
right?
personal choices.
Right. So if you're more like typing in hoax, then you're gonna get the first thing hoax.
But my point is that it's really scary to me how easy it is for somebody to get stuck in that, what they call the rabbit hole, you know what I mean? And once you're there, you're there.
And that's all they keep feeding you, because you keep clicking it and they're going to keep giving you more.
Oh, the world's going to fucking burn, dude.
Oh, like towards the end of that, when I was like, this is real bleak. And like you were saying earlier about self-regulation, these companies are like, we're going to regulate ourselves. Like,
you can't trust them.
Well, Mark Zuckerberg in that one Congress hearing or whatever, he's like, so the answer is like, we just build more AIs and they'll fix it or whatever.
I'm not as smart as Mark Zuckerberg, but even to me, that sounded like no. That did not sound
he
like
doesn't seem like, I mean, he went to Harvard and stuff, but he didn't finish. He seems kind of like a doof. Like, he created something and it's way crazier.
Well, why did he create it?
To get laid.
To get laid. You know what I mean? The original intention was to,
impress the ladies.
Yeah, it was like a rating. I think it was like a rating thing to rate the girls at first, and then
it just snowballed.
Yeah.
Once you bring in monetization and like, we got to keep making money, and if it doesn't meet the goals of making money, they're not going to do it. He might be. His eyes.
His whole mannerism.
You can tell but in his eyes, you can tell he's kind of like, oh crap, what is happening? I don't know how to stop it.
He definitely seems like a deer in headlights.
Because he was like, well, actually, I wouldn't say that, but.
Yeah, they're like, do you think that Facebook influenced the election? He's like, I don't know.
He did not look like he was on top of it.
Well, that's a bold statement. Something like that.
Well, there's a lot of factors that were involved in the election.
People voted.
He's starting to sound more and more like a politician, and that is not what we need. And even that part where they said, like, Mark Zuckerberg has these dials, where it's like, in Indonesia, we need more people to like birds, and over here, we need more people to hate the environment. Like, they can just turn these dials. And
see, that's why people talk about this, that a lot of these, like Twitter and Facebook, they have to be not renamed, but recategorized as media companies.
Right.
Like because like news journalists, newspapers, magazines, they have to follow they're under certain strict guidelines that places like Facebook don't have to. But Facebook kind of controls what we see, what media, what news we get to watch. So the fact that they're kind of being like a conductor of that, they got to be under some kind of regulate. You know what I mean? You can't just let them just choose what they want, and because even though they don't write the material,
of course not,
they're telling us which material to see. And obviously, they're going to put a focus on what benefits them the most in any given situation.
And they're going to show us whatever they're making the most money to show us. Not like, oh, this is good to know, the children here are starving. No, they're going to show Jan, these crazy Democrats are going to steal your kids, Jan. Like, and Jan showing up at the PTA, like, the Democrats are evil. They're poisoning the water.
And she brings a gun to the PTA.
And she brings a gun
it's serious.
because it's her right. They're turning the children into socialists.
Or selling them off to pedophile rings.
Oh yeah, the Pizzagate. Like, what?
I love that cop who's like, in regards to what?
Pizzagate, man. And they're like,
and the cop is like, he's talking about Pizzagate.
They're in the basement. And there was no basement.
I actually watched, so there's a video of that guy on his car ride to do that on YouTube. That's pretty entertaining. Yeah.
He probably thought like he was a real vigilante for change.
No, so I guess he had 2 daughters and stuff, and and in the video he's just like, I need to do this for my children. I could never live with myself. You know, what side are you on? No. Just like brainwashed by this thing. And like, yes, there are pedophiles in the world. Yes.
Obviously.
But like, they just weren't at that pizza place, and that was like pretty clear to most people, I guess.
Yes. There's real pedophiles, there's real child trafficking, human trafficking going on, but you aren't seeing that kind of outrage about the real stuff.
Well, that's the problem with the QAnon stuff. So first off, QAnon pretty much took the name Save the Children, which is a real organization that does good things for kids. Right. But they co-opted that. They co-opted it as a disguise to, like, when they're when they have their rallies, they have Save the Children rallies. And it's a way to kind of get people that aren't aware. You see that, you hear that, and you don't know, if you don't know what QAnon is, you think, oh, this is a good thing. And of course you hear about we want to get rid of the pedophiles, because who doesn't want to get rid of the pedophiles?
That's what we all want.
So like it kind of brings people in that normally wouldn't be in that kind of, that don't bother to look them up. The worst part about it, what sucks about them, is that it works in lies and a lot of misleading details, and it's actually pulling away resources and people's attention from like the real actual like victims, like the real problem with real child sex rings, real kids being abused and things like that, because they're thinking it's like a Hollywood elite thing, whatever, you know what I mean, and then the focus isn't on the real situation we should be focused on, because we're chasing a wild goose chase to this imaginary thing.
And then they're giving money to QAnon. Who knows where that money's going?
All right, good talk, you guys. I think we are at like an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, we are about there.
Yeah.
This was pleasant.
It was very pleasant.
Thank you for having me.
So how do we close out the show?
I think that we'll just edit it as ending.